This is part 2 of a 2-part video series where I rank every park I've been to in Asia as of the end of 2025. If you haven't already seen part 1, I'd highly recommend you go ahead and do so, and if you have, feel free to skip the intro. So I recently just got back from my first Asian theme park tour consisting of 3 unforgettable weeks throughout Japan and South Korea. It was a culture shock to say the least, but it also made me pumped up to continue traveling the continent in the future. Keeping in mind that this list can and will change in the years to come, I wanted to dedicate this video to ranking every single one of the Asian theme parks I've currently visited. In total, that's 23 across Japan, 5 in South Korea, and for fun, I'll also be throwing in the 3 I experienced last year in Turkey. It's always kind of a controversial topic whether Turkey is a European or Asian country, and although I stopped off during a European theme park trip, the majority of its landmass is technically in Asia, so what the hell, let's just say it's a part of both continents and call it a day. At number 15, we've got Greenland outside of Kumamoto, Japan. This is what may have been the most Japanese amusement park of them all because it is absolutely massive, there was no one there, and they have tons of bizarre experiences on offer. Of their 9 currently operating roller coasters, only a few are anything less than rare, and beyond that there are countless interesting flat rides and transportation rides throughout this park. And much to my surprise, despite how stuck in time and empty Greenland appeared, it didn't seem to be in a bad state at all. I would have cut them some slack since there's so much land and so many attractions to maintain, but it's actually kept up quite well in my opinion. Number 14, Lotte's Magic Forest in Busan, South Korea. The newest major theme park in the country, and the Lotte company's second ever park, this place simply felt magical. It was completely gorgeous, so well themed, mountains absolutely everywhere. My only issue with it is its lackluster ride lineup. Granted, with it being such a new park, I feel that they deserve some time to grow before I entirely judge them on that front. Like literally, as I'm recording this video, they're working on their biggest ride yet, and I think that'll do wonders to flesh out their collection of attractions. I'd also love to see a dark ride here, but otherwise I think this is well on its way to becoming one of Korea's best theme parks. Number 13, Vialand in Istanbul, Turkey. This is by far and away the best park in the country, it's not even close. Located atop a hill in the heart of Istanbul, Vialand isn't just in a remarkable location, but it is kept up very nicely with a great variety of attractions. Their signature coaster, Nefeskessen, as well as their family coaster are 2 spectacular rides from Intamin. They also have a really impressive boat dark ride, several standout water rides, solid flat rides, and for the last time I've got to appreciate the Turkish ice cream, it is just so damn good. Oh, and if you haven't been to Istanbul before, there are stray cats everywhere in this city and they're taken care of to no end. And that extends into Vialand also. It is the only park I've ever been to where I'd casually see cats walking around, and that can only be a good thing, of course. Number 12, Rusutsu Resort outside of Sapporo, Japan. The sole reason I wanted to travel so bad to this island in the north of the country, Rusutsu Resort was worth it, and I say that with flying colors. Surprisingly, it turns out they have one of Japan's best coaster lineups with several standouts, including the best Ultra Twister left in operation and a one-of-a-kind Meisho shuttle loop coaster. There's also a handful of great flat rides and a gondola attraction that takes you up to the top of a mountain. If I had to describe this park to someone who's never heard of it, I'd say it feels like a full-fledged amusement park within the boundaries of a national park. And be sure to check out their hotel while here, it is incredibly beautiful. We somehow ended up watching an animatronic show while eating some of the best food of the trip. Number 11, Yomiuriland outside of Tokyo, Japan. Definitely one of the nicest and most lively parks in the country, Yomiuriland seems to do just about everything right. Like so many others in Asia, it's got a wonderful location overlooking the city, and they have a quality over quantity focus when it comes to rides. All 5 coasters were meticulously chosen to fill a gap in their lineup, and their indoor rapids ride is pure insanity. I've also got to show some love to Bandit, one of the best coasters ever built by Togo, and a sick standout attraction for this park. Number 10, Nasu Highland Park outside of Nikko, Japan. We may have traveled a far distance out of the way to go to this park, but you know what? Every second of it was worth it. When I think back to Japan, Nasu Highland will always be one of the parks I immediately think of. Yes, because it was the first large-scale amusement park of the 2025 Asia tour, but more than that, because it was a perfect introduction to what makes Japanese parks different. It feels totally retro, they used every color conceivably possible with their coasters and rides, there's weird experiences unlike anything else you might find in other countries, and yes, you will find some janky, amazing coasters here. Shout out Big Boom, easily one of the top rides in Japan due to it having the most chaotic roller coaster drop ever devised. Number 9, Gyeongju World outside of Busan, South Korea. This is really the only park in this country with the focus on large, thrilling roller coasters, and one of the few in East Asia at large. Usually this comes with the sacrifice of theming, but Gyeongju World isn't that way at all. It is a spotless, beautifully landscaped, nicely themed destination that happens to have one of the best top 3s on the continent. Skull and Hattie, Asia's first RMC Raptor coaster, was my personal favorite, but I also love their dive machine Draken, which may have been the best ride of its genre, and Phaethon, a custom, rather unique B&M inverted coaster. Number 8, Parque Espana in Shima, Japan. A lot of the theme park fans and roller coaster enthusiasts who have traveled to Japan in recent years have shown Parque Espana a lot of love, but I still don't think it's enough. The first half of my visit was already great as I got to explore the front part of the park with all the coasters, and Pyrenees was tremendously amazing. But it's not until you descend the mountainside and trek through a Spanish village when you start to recognize the brilliance of Parque Espana. All of a sudden, it feels like you've been transported from Japan to Spain in one of the most beautiful, nicely landscaped parts of any park ever, and that discovery experience was something unforgettable. Number 7. Lotte World in Seoul, South Korea. One of the most visited theme parks in the world, I'd feel confident telling you this was my favorite indoor park I'd ever been to, if not for the fact that there's also an entire well-themed outdoor area with some of Lotte World's best attractions. Starting there, Atlantis Adventure is easily my favorite coaster in the park, a one-of-a-kind intimate Aquatrax water coaster. There's also some thrilling flat rides to give the park variety, and that single word I think is a great segue to start talking about the indoor portion. This is built up into endless layers, and getting around the park makes you feel like you're in a maze. But again, I love me a good discovery experience, and this was no different, even if I were confused out of my mind. There is so much in this singular building, ranging from extraordinarily long dark rides, thrilling coasters, unique transportation rides, an ice skating rink, and so much more. Number 6. Nagashima Spa Land outside of Nagoya, Japan. One of my most anticipated parks of the trip, I can now confidently say I understand why it's built up a reputation as the Cedar Point of Japan. Is it anywhere near as good? In my opinion, no, but those similarities can only be looked at as a positive, especially in the case of Nagashima's deep coaster collection. You'll find 13 in this park, more than any other in the country, and while I love that 1-2 punch of Hakuge and Steel Dragon 2000, I also want to show some appreciation for the supporting cast. From old school Schwarzkopfs to one of Japan's few Ultra Twisters and many great coaster clones, Nagashima has it all. I simply decided to rank this lower than some others because it might have had the worst operations of any park I've ever seen, making riding just about anything a serious challenge. Number 5. Fuji-Q Highland outside of Kofu, Japan. The country's other big coaster park, and perhaps the more famous of the two, Fuji-Q cuts Nagashima's quantity in half while having just as much quality. Ejinaika may as well be my favorite coaster I've ever ridden. It was easily the best in Japan, it's not close. Once the tallest, fastest coaster in the world, Fujiyama completely holds up today and is absolutely hilarious to ride. The former steepest coaster, Takabisha, is also great, and Zokan was no doubt one of the more underrated rides of the 2025 Asia Tour. Additionally, the park's location with Mount Fuji in the backdrop is amazing. We got lucky with mostly great weather, so there were many instances where we got to see it in full. And the park was actually nicer than I expected, even if it's rather generic in appearance. Like Nagashima, this has some truly despicable operations, but I don't think they were quite as bad, which is why I have it a single spot higher on my list. Number 4. Everland, outside of Seoul, South Korea. I wasn't expecting this park to rank anywhere near as high as it does, or even be the best in Korea, yet here I am, and almost all of what I have to say is high praise. Now, it's worth noting that we visited on an incredibly empty day, which was completely unexpected since Everland is one of the most popular parks on Earth, so that certainly contributed to it receiving the number 4 spot. But I was also so impressed by the theming and presentation and emphasis on quality over quantity. Sure, they may not have too many noteworthy attractions, but the ones they do have are astounding. T-Express is by far the country's best roller coaster and the second best Woody on Earth, and Everland also might have the best safari experience I've ever seen. With more coasters, I would have considered ranking this inside of my top 3, but still, I simply adored the park as is. Number 3. Universal Studios Japan in Osaka, Japan. I couldn't wait to explore my first international Universal park, and in most ways, it delivered and was every bit as good as I hoped it would be. They have the best coaster lineup of any Universal park, anchored by Flying Dinosaur, the most absurd flying coaster ever built by far. There are some great dark rides such as Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey, Jurassic Park River Adventure, and Jaws if you count it as such, but that being an original ride to this park was most definitely a highlight. And I also think Universal Japan has countless world-class themed areas, even a few of them are unique to the park. My biggest problem is I found it to be the worst run Universal park by a lot, with atrocious policies and operational quirks that took away from my experience. Not that it were close to climbing a spot on my list, but that certainly did not help. Number 2 for me is going to be Tokyo Disneyland outside of Tokyo, Japan. I was totally floored by how good this park was, as someone who had grown up with the Disney parks in the United States and absolutely loved them. I also feel it's worth sharing that I walked away from my first international Disney parks, the 2 in Paris, a little underwhelmed due to their less than stellar ride lineups relative to others in the chain. Tokyo Disneyland felt like a combination of everything that makes the original Castle Park in California and the more visited Castle Park in Florida so great. It was nice and spacious, while also having an intimate feel in their themed areas, and the ride lineup completely blew my mind. They have the last remaining Splash Mountain and easily the best one ever built, along with several original elite trackless dark rides and excellent iterations of classic Disney attractions. I genuinely couldn't believe I'd end up ranking this as one of my 5 favorite theme parks ever, but despite that, it wasn't able to clear the number 1 spot. That honor instead belongs to Tokyo DisneySea in the same resort. It's been said before that DisneySea feels as though Disney were given no budget at all, and I could not agree more. What they've managed to do here is unlike any other park in the world, with the most theming, the most high quality dark rides, the best lands. It should be looked at as the gold standard for theme parks anywhere. The only downside I can potentially think of is its coasters aren't so great, but I really don't go to Disney parks for the roller coasters. And as someone who enjoys a good dark ride as much as a good coaster, that was the last thing on my mind while at DisneySea. Fantasy Springs alone is half the size of Disney's California Adventure, and alone is better than that entire park. I think even without that expansion, this would have been my number 1 park in Japan, but with it, including 2 of the greatest dark rides ever in Frozen and Peter Pan, DisneySea has simply put the best theme park on Earth. Combined with Tokyo Disneyland, I might go as far as to say that the resort is my favorite place I've been in my entire life. It doesn't matter where in the world you live, I think at some point you've got to do yourself a favor and experience these 2 Disney parks because it was something I will never forget. But with that, I'd love to hear from you what your favorite theme parks in Asia are if you've spent time on the continent, and if not, which ones are at the top of your bucket list. Be sure to like this video and subscribe if you enjoyed, and for those who would like to support me directly, check out my Patreon. I'll leave a link in the description and pinned comment. For $5 a month, you can gain access to my theme park focused podcast, exclusive Q&A videos, early access to my usual content, and so much more. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.